Welcome to My Career Podcast, and I'm joined by Catherine Graham, who works at a small space project company called KISP in Farnborough, Hampshire. Welcome, Catherine.
Thank you.
So I'd like to start by asking you, how have you ended up working in the space industry?
All right. Okay. Well, I've always been interested in space. Always been interested in it. I like my sci-fi growing up. I've read sci-fi. I've watched Star Trek, and I just liked the stars. I was interested in stars. I had an encyclopedia which had a diagram about the life cycle of stars, and it just fascinated me.
Okay.
So I was doing my A-levels, physics, chemistry and maths. I enjoyed my sciences.
Yeah.
And I was researching degrees because I'd always wanted to go and do a degree.
Yeah.
And I was looking through brochures and I found a degree called Physics with Astrophysics. I wasn't very aware of astrophysics, but basically astrophysics is the science of space and stars and galaxies.
Wow.
And I was just like, wow, I want to study that. And because it had physics with it, I felt that would be all right for a career move. So I went and did my degree in physics with astrophysics. I loved it. Really enjoyed myself. And at the end of that, I thought, I don't want to leave university just yet.
Oh, right, okay.
So I stayed on and did a PhD in X-ray astronomy.
Wow.
So I did that for 3 years at a different university, had a great experience. I was very lucky. I got to work with some satellite data, but also I got to go to the United Kingdom Infrared Telescope at Mauna Kea in Hawaii.
Right.
So I got to use the telescopes there. So that was great. But at the end of the 3 years, didn't want to stay in academia. I wanted to do something a bit more. It was very pure science. I wanted to do something a bit more relevant to everyday life.
Okay. Yeah.
So then I looked into careers, and I was very lucky in searching for jobs, I found an opportunity at what is now Kinetic in Farnborough and their space department. So I started there 27 years ago.
Wow. Yeah.
So I did space surveillance and space studies at Kinetic for 10 years, and then I moved to Surrey Satellite Technology for 10 years.
Wow.
For 13 years, and worked on concept design, and then I moved into a line management role for system engineers, and I was managing system engineers for a lot of time. So I got to the point where I managed 60 engineers.
Wow.
And it was an exciting company to work for because we built many missions. They've built over 60 missions and been involved in the small satellite industry in this region, and was one of the pioneers of the small satellite industry, let alone not just the UK, but in the world.
Oh,
so,
wow.
So a great opportunity to work there. I then took a year out from space. I did something a little bit different for a year, worked in high altitude UAVs for a year, and before coming to KISP because I wanted to get back to space.
Oh, right. You missed space.
I missed space.
Okay.
So
it's
now,
in your blood, I think, isn't it?
It is. I love it.
Yeah.
And now I'm a senior system engineer at a small SME, a small medium enterprise company called KISP.
Yeah.
And we do space projects and work to enable other companies and organisations to achieve their space ambitions.
Okay.
We're a small sort of consultancy type company, project engineering, and we do a wide range of work. And I'm a system engineer there, so I get to do technical work, designing how much power a satellite might need, or how big a data link we might need to get data down one day. And then being a small company, we have to do lots of things. So another day I might be working on a proposal for some new work.
Okay, yeah.
Or I might be delivering some training. I write and deliver training. Or doing some STEM activities, coming out and talking to people such as yourself, telling them how great the space industry is.
Well, I'm sold already, if I'm honest. It's like, I think it's such an interesting topic to be talking about today, and to be just kind of like making young people aware of, because, it's such a vibrant industry, and particularly in this region.
Yes.
This is one of our key sectors within Surrey and Hampshire. And I believe there's quite a lot of people involved, like employed in the space industry.
So the space industry is growing throughout the UK and has been actively pushed by the UK government and also by the industries within the UK. So it's an expanding industry in the UK, but in particular in this region in Surrey and Hampshire, it's a big portion of the UK space industry, partly spawned by the likes of Surrey Satellite Technology and Airbus and some of these other primes, and other companies have moved to the region or offshoots of those companies. So it's grown into a big thing for the area. And so I'll go quote some statistics now. So there are over 130 companies in Surrey and Hampshire and the Isle of Wight.
Gosh.
So generating £3.03 billion of income, £1.6 billion of exports, and employing 5,684 people. So, and those are statistics provided by the Space South Central network of space companies.
And that's just in like Surrey and Hampshire?
It's just Surrey and Hampshire, yes.
So from a young person's perspective, that's really exciting, isn't it? Because you can see that there's this huge growing industry which is going to offer such amazing career opportunities.
Yes, there's a wide variety of companies and they're all quite close to each other, so and it stems and builds from each other. So there's lots of opportunities across the whole of the space industry. And types of work that you can do in the space industry in this region. We cater for pretty much all of it here around in this area.
So that makes me think, like, well, can you sort of like share some details about the types of roles then? So if there's 5,000, people working, what are they doing? What do they do on their day-to-day work when they go off to work?
Well, there's a wide range of roles. So the space industry can be divided up into, I guess you could say, two big areas. There's what we call upstream, which is where we're designing, building, operating satellites. But then there's the downstream sector, which is then utilising all the data that these satellites are producing. So they produce vast quantities of data. So there's lots of industry around what you do with that data.
Okay.
So there's roles in both of those areas in this region and across the country. So in terms of building satellites, there are lots of STEM careers, so science and engineering and maths, technology careers. So from people who design satellites to then build them. There's lots of engineering roles in mechanical engineering, electrical, software, systems engineering, a vast quantity of different types of roles in that area. There's technician roles. There's the people that build all the components that go into the satellites, build the images, build the communication systems. Then these people that have to integrate it all together, make sure it all works and test. So there are all those kinds of activities. And that's just on building the satellite side. And then you've got the downstream side where they analyse data, meter weather, climate change, urban planning. There's lots and lots of different ways of using data, geographical information systems, and using data for lots of applications. And that's just the scientific STEM type careers. But there's lots of other careers that are needed to support that whole industry. We need project managers, we need accountants, we need lawyers, we need artists and graphic artists, we need business development, we need web developers, we need all the kind of support services that you would need, HR, office management, procurement. There's lots and lots of careers, not just in the technical side, but in the support side as well. So like any industry, any other engineering industry would be the same in that regard. So
so if we look at the kind of like the satellite side of things, most of us will have looked up to the sky and thought, what's that up there? And it's a satellite. But like, what's it doing? Like, why are they there? And like, why do we need engineers who can kind of like, develop these?
So satellites, they're integrated in our daily lives in ways that we wouldn't even realise sometimes. You know, getting money out of the bank at some point relies on a satellite delivering a timing signal. We use satellite navigation. I used it to get to this podcast today. So it helped me find where I was going. I remember back in the days of maps, and sat nav's a lot easier. So we have navigation like that. Communications, a lot of communications now happens via satellite. If you want to talk to America or Australia, there's probably satellites involved to get your communication over. Sky TV, that's of course, satellite provided. And that's just the communications and the navigation side of the industry. There's a huge industry in remote sensing, which is where we take pictures of the Earth. So that's providing data for climate change. I don't think we would understand what was happening with the climate anywhere near as much as we do without satellite data. Because they provide that global view, and you can see the globe. There's disaster monitoring. So because satellites have got a global view and are taking pictures around the world all the time, if something happens in the remote region, you can get imagery and information out to people, rescue workers, quickly.
I see.
So, for example, the Tonga volcano from last January, that was, we've got videos of that actually occurring, but also we can see what happened, and we can able to send information out to aid agencies so they can get the right help to the right people quickly.
So there's a lot going on.
There's loads. In fact, I could spend hours just talking about what space could do. So, you know, and it's everywhere. There's small satellite companies taking imagery in the Ukraine and providing that to the Ukrainians so that they've got an idea of what the Russians might be doing in their area. So, and that's been widely reported in the press. So there's lots and lots of applications where data is really valuable.
And so you could argue it's a really vital industry. And if we bring that back to like a careers perspective for a young person that might be sitting there thinking, like, you know, I like maths, I enjoy physics, you know, this could be kind of a pathway or a route that I might like to explore. And as well as those kind of like subjects, are there other kind of like skills that you've identified in your years of working with the engineers or within the industry that you think like typifies someone who works in the industry?
So what typifies? That's a good question. So what do we need? A passion for what you're doing. You know, a passion. It doesn't necessarily have to be a passion for space necessarily. It could just be maybe an engineering discipline or something like that. But a bit of passion and drive. The ability to work in teams. We don't build satellites in isolation. We work as teams, and they can be quite big teams. So ability to work together as part of a team is really important. So that also is communication skills as well. An element of innovation and that creative thinking to come up with new ideas of how we can, what we can do next in space and what's new. And there's a new technology being developed. How could we use that in space to provide a new product or new data? So those sort of skills as well. So obviously we need the technical skills, but those skills are really vital and important. And in my time running a system engineering team, I found the key thing I looked for in people was that ability to communicate and be able to listen to others and pick up when other people may have an idea but were sitting quietly in a corner, and to make sure all the ideas and all the views and concerns even were raised so that you can design a good product and pick everything up. So communication is vital.
And I'm sensing also that it's probably like a sort of like a problem solving element to this as well.
Yes, I should have said that. Absolutely. Problem solving is one of the key skills. You're testing something, it doesn't quite work, that desire and drive to actually want to go, well, why didn't that work? And bottom out and find what went wrong. Or if you're doing software, and software is vital in the space industry, again, you know, that desire to find where that bug is and come out and get to it. A bit of attention to detail is also needed to make sure you get things right.
Yeah, quite important.
And an anecdote, so relating to the Hubble Space Telescope.
Yeah.
So that initially didn't work very well. It was out of focus when it was first launched.
Oh, right.
And that's because someone somewhere had got the wrong units. So mixed between SI and Imperial.
Really?
So it didn't work. And they fixed it. They
worked out what was wrong.
Made a replacement, made a cover to put it back in focus. But so even the big agencies can get things right. Yeah. So an attention to detail to get things right is also important.
So I mean, I that's lovely to sort of like look at it quite holistically then. So yes, you know, the maths and the physics and the IT maybe studying at school. But so say, for example, you think, well, yeah, you know, I've got those skills and I've got these strengths academically. What are the routes into the industry? Because you mentioned obviously you went to university, but you don't necessarily have to go to university, do you?
No. So there's a lot of roles. So it depends. If you want to get involved in the satellite building side, obviously doing your A-levels in STEM subjects and going on to university is absolutely a route.
Yeah.
And there are lots of university degrees that cater well, that can be used. Some space-specific ones, some non-space specific.
Yeah.
Sort of general engineering. And you can even do MSCs that even give you more space-specific experience. So that's absolutely a route, and it's a very common route. But also there are other routes into the industry. There is now a level 4 space technician apprenticeship that's been developed.
Wow.
So that is now in existence.
Yeah.
And from September 2024, there's a level 6 space systems degree apprenticeship as well. So the industry has recognised there is a lack of space skills and so has worked with partners around the industry to develop these apprenticeship schemes. So they're growing.
Exciting, isn't
it's early days, but it's definitely growing. And so there are routes in. Yeah. And I know many cases of people who have gone through an apprenticeship route and have gone into the industry.
Yes.
And it's a fantastic route to go.
Yeah.
Gets you lots of practical hands-on experience.
Yeah, which is the great thing about apprenticeships, isn't it?
Absolutely.
All that skills and knowledge that you're, you know, the hands-on quality, as you know, and you add that to your qualification as well. Yeah. That's a really valuable mix, isn't it?
It is, absolutely. So there's lots of routes. You don't have to do A-levels, you could do BTEC, you could do T-levels. So there are lots of routes through that you could definitely take.
Yeah. So, and some of the sort of more vocational routes, like a BTEC and a T-level, are more suited to different types of people. And, you know, and it sounds to me like, you know, if you're working in a team, you need to have a diverse mix of skills. And, you know, when you bring together diversity, so it's the vocational and then the really academic learners, then, you know, you really got a strong team then, I can imagine. Yeah,
you need a mix of all the skills. You know? So you need those people with that technician level who are happy building components or doing the testing and doing that really detailed, intricate work, which someone who maybe has done a degree has never done soldering or something. I couldn't do it, but they do different things. They do design work and stuff. Yeah. So, and we need all those skills to make the industry work and happen.
Yeah.
And there are opportunities for people to change careers in the future. You know, if you've gone in a different career route and you suddenly think, oh gosh, I wish I'd gone in space. Yeah. There's plenty of routes that you can come back in at some point.
And as a female working in the industry, you know, what could you tell me, or what could you say to sort of young females who are sitting in school or college about, you know, what's it like being a female in the space industry?
Well, it's great.
Yeah. Well, you seem to have had a great time.
It's fine. It's brilliant. There's no reason for any woman not to pursue a career in the space industry. Engineering has got this perception that it's, you know, you wear hard hats, you get grubby and you're oily and you're greasy and it's a really tough, physical, hard job. Yeah. That's a kind of perception engineering has got. well, I've never worn a hard hat. I've never got greased up. And I've never been crawling around on the floor under a car. So there's a wide range of, so it's not like that. And there are lots of women in the industry. About 29% of the technical workforce is women. Right, okay. So, which is not bad, Frederick. We could do better. It'd be nice to get some more women. Like I said, I ran system engineering teams, and we got to the point of about 50% of us were women. And where I currently work, we're approaching 50% women as well. And our chief engineer is a woman. So there is no blockers being a woman or any cultural group. There's no reason why any of us can't work in the space industry. There are no blockers.
That's really encouraging to know. And I think like by talking to you and like hearing your passion, and you mentioned like your passion is really important, and that's really clear. You know, even after all these years in the industry, you know, you were still very passionate about it. And it feels like it's an industry that has prospects in the future. You know, would if a young person said to their parents, you know, I want to go and work in the space industry, could they be pretty certain that they're entering an industry where there's, you know, jobs for the future, like there's growth, like there are, you know, because it sounds so exciting, so you would worry that maybe it was a bit competitive and it would be really hard to get a job. What do you feel about that?
So the space industry, there's a bit of perception, and certainly it happened even when I was growing up as well. Oh, you need to do something else as well, just in case you don't make it, sort of thing. And there's also the perception the space industry is about working for NASA or being an astronaut, which obviously being an astronaut is highly competitive, and there aren't very many jobs in that area. But the industry is a lot bigger than that, as I've spoken about some of the numbers. And actually in the UK as a whole, the space industry employs directly 49,000 people, about 2020, but supports like 120,000 jobs. So there's, and it's only growing. The only thing that's stopping the space industry growth in the UK is we don't have enough people with the right skills. So all the space employers across the country, and particularly in this region, we're all struggling to find the right skills and the people we need to do the work we need to do. And that problem in the future is potentially even going to get worse, because a lot of us are, you know, 5, 10, 15 years away from retiring. So we need to get people excited, enthused, doing the subjects, getting involved in the space industry, coming into the space industry so we can grow and keep the skills coming and keep the industry growing. So there's lots of opportunities. So within the there's lots of opportunities, and it's a growing industry. So, and as supported by the government as well, it's seen as one of those growth areas for the country. So absolutely. If your parents says, parents say,
am I heading in the right direction?
They say, well, you know, Tim Peake, you know, there aren't very many jobs. That's not true. There are lots of opportunities. And even if you don't quite make it in space industry with all those skills, there are lots of technical, engineering, scientific roles across the country. It's not just the space industry crying out for these skills. We're all these kind of disciplines are crying out for these skills. So
wow, I think it's amazing. I've really enjoyed finding out today about, you know, about the industry, about the breadth of the industry, and that it's really like you say, like accessible to quite a broad range of young people. And actually, you know, we need to get the young people excited about thinking about careers in space, and not just thinking it's just like something that can't be achieved. Actually, it's really evident, you know, from the college courses, the university courses, the apprenticeships that are available now. These are really viable career paths. And I'm delighted that we've been able to have this chat today, because I feel like, you know, when people will listen to this, then I definitely think it should sort of like spark some interest and excitement. But like really grateful for you coming in today, sharing your story, and really importantly, sharing sort of what the space industry is all about. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.